Hey, all. It is Tuesday, which is August 30. I have to think way too hard on that. So, before we kind of kick off on our regular discussion, Dan, tell us about Hawaii. How was it?
It was so good. It was amazing. It was yeah, I went to Maui this year instead of last year we went to Oahu, which is a little more like kind of corporatey and touristy. This year we did just all beaches and hikes and nature and stuff. So it was great. Waterfalls and jumping off of rocks and stuff. So perfect.
Awesome. Super jealous.
Yeah.
And the last time I was in Hawaii, I was 2, and so I don't remember. It seems very nice. It seems like a place people like, though.
Yeah, it's great. The time change is insane, though. I don't know why I went last year. It didn't hit me as hard as this, but it's like 6 hours or 7 hours, and it's just brutal.
Well, it's 2 hours more than it was last time you went, now that you're in Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
And when I visited Germany when I was younger, like the time change was horrendous. We were there for 2 weeks, and by the time I got accustomed to it, it's time to get on a plane and come home, and then get adjusted to it going back. It was
Yeah,
so much fun. I was too young for the sleep on your way because it'll help change your cycle. I was too young. I was excited. I was on a plane.
And that doesn't always work. It depends on. My theory is that there's no magic, that only suffering will work, and anything else is an illusion.
Got a buddy who swears by like the stay up for like 24 hours thing until you're dead exhausted and then
oh, yeah,
pass out at the right time. He swears by it, but I've tried that. I'm like, dude, nah, it doesn't work for everybody.
yeah. I've
For
done that, and then
me,
I'll sleep for 13 hours, and then I'm back to where I started. So
I mean, for me, I think if you can arrive in like the evening or late afternoon, wherever, then you can force yourself to stay up, and usually you end up sleeping a little bit better. But I've also found that like after 2 days it wears off and you're back to your normal time zone, and all you can do is suffer. So it's like, I don't know.
we just need magic reset buttons for our sleep cycles.
That would be nice if we just be like, set a timer for
Just program it. Sleep for these hours. Done.
just yeah. Sleep 600. Like, wait, that's only 10 minutes. That would actually be nice for naps too, though.
Oh man, it would. So nice. I don't take naps because I'm like, I can't reliably say I'll wake up in the time I plan to nap for. This time I took a nap, I slept for 6.5 hours and then woke up at like 2 in the morning. I was like, oh no.
Quick question. Sorry to interrupt the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Explorer access. Can you have read-only Explorer access, or do you have to be an agent? Or
You have to be an agent, or you have to have a dashboard shared with you and be an
Mhm.
agent. So, like a light agent could have read access to a dashboard. They just have
And
to have
then
it shared with them.
if you wanted to make
Specifically, a
dashboards,
dashboard, not a report. If you want to make them, you have to be a full agent and you have to have a special role provision, which would be an access request and all that fun stuff.
yeah. Thank you.
Although, as the director of readiness, we probably should be upgrading your role to that of like admin.
I don't think you want. That's like having Sid be admin and Mailgun. Like, yeah, his name's on the account, but do we really want a Mailgun admin? Nah.
That's fair. I'm not going to push you for it. All right, cool. So, stuff on our agenda. There's no objections on the contact sync concept that we proposed. So we'll start working on the back end and getting ready for a beta test. I'm still working with a few key sales members to get a few key orgs to agree to be our beta testers for that. So we'll kind of see how that goes. Hopefully, all the ones we're looking to have beta test this do, because they are ones that are kind of pretty consistently not happy with the current contact management way we do things. So, and they all do have account management projects set up, so that is also nice. But the backend stuff is we'll have that sync script, and I'm working on scripting to make a Zendesk app where we click a button to set up the project, but also potentially work out during the Zendesk Salesforce sync if it's creating an org to also create that project with the sold to of the Zuora subscription being the one added to the project as a order. So hopefully it'll be to a point where ops barely has to do anything for these, which is the ideal thing. Ideally, I want you to have to do nothing. It should just work. But there are going to be weird cases where there's no sold to because something synced weird into Salesforce where we will have to interact and actually do something. So I'm going to work out all that stuff. But yeah, so nothing going into, nothing set in stone right now, but the plan is to kind of work out that beta test, get feedback, iterate, and then hopefully by fiscal year 24, the start of fiscal year 24, have this something we're using globally for Zendesk Global. Federal's still going to use their method of contact syncing up until it becomes unable to do that method. Cool. Me and Lyle talked with legal and finance about data retention, and finance gave us the 180 days is pretty much all they need, but legal said because of contract law in some countries, it could be up to 7 years, in some rare countries even more. Because of that, we decided we're not going to look into removing users that have tickets because there's just way too many variables at that point. We'll shift focus to removing users with no tickets, because obviously they have no tickets, they don't need to be a user. And then greatly expired orgs, which is a new term that we are working on the definition of. Basically, an org that is so far expired, we don't need that org in place. The users and their tickets would, obviously still be there. We're just talking about the orgs specifically. Lyle has a question.
Yeah, I think we should clarify about attachments. Like it is bundling an issue, but ideally attachments should be in whatever data retention policy we have as well. And
so because of this shift in focus, attachments, since they are on tickets, will not be removed, period, the end.
Well, do we want to, and are they in scope of what legal is saying we need to keep for 7 years?
I would assume if we have to keep the ticket, the attachments on it would be the same. I assume that there's a redaction app, but there is no automated way or scripted way we could actually redact. We could redact comments. We'd have to use that app on every ticket. And even then, I don't think you can do that on a closed ticket. I've never actually tried to redact an attachment on a closed ticket.
That would surprise me a little bit, but there's not a redact API in Zendesk. You have to use the weird app.
There's not a way natively in Zendesk to redact anything. You have to install an app that they built, which means the logic exists somewhere in Zendesk. We just don't know what it is. I know for the attachment redaction, it literally just renames the file to redacted, and I think just makes it a text file with the word redacted in it. So there probably is a way in some way, and we can try to reverse that. But if we have to keep customers' data for 7 years, that would include their contracts by how we define customer data, or it would include their attachments by the way we define customer data. But I think we could ask legal to clarify on the issue we have. I know finance doesn't look at attachments, so I think we would just need legal to clarify if is this just about their attachments or their ticket content itself?
Yeah.
Based on the wording Dan said, or Eugene, whoever it was that commented, I think it's literally the ticket itself is what we have to retain, and that would include the attachments therein. But I think commenting on that issue would be a good thing just to clarify, because if they did solely mean attachments, that theoretically might make it easier, but we'd also still looking at pulling a user and then pulling every ticket and then going through every ticket to look for an attachment, which is at minimum 3 calls, assuming one user, one list of tickets, one ticket, but for some users could be a ton of API calls.
Yeah. The thing that I'm concerned about ultimately is both with ticket data and attachments is just security. There have been not within GitLab, but in the globe, there have been instances of support portals getting compromised, and then key data from support tickets and attachments being used to compromise a network. So I
wonder. I'm positive Zendesk doesn't keep attachments forever. I'm positive they don't, because then they would basically just have infinite. They're archived after 120 days. Users are deleted. And then a link to their giant data retention policy, which is not something I'm going to read in this meeting.
Yeah, no,
I'll double check Zendesk's data retention policy. I feel like they can't keep attachments forever, even if you pay them forever, because storage costs would become a thing.
You would think. You would think.
But maybe when you're paying them, they're like, well, our storage is part of the cost. So
I don't know if this is true, but it does look like there's a delete upload API. I don't know if that works on anything.
I'd have to test if that works on a deleted ticket.
On a deleted ticket?
I don't know if that, or sorry, closed ticket.
A closed ticket, yeah.
Because once a ticket is closed, like, you can't update anything on it. I don't know if that includes the attachments. I'll play around with it. I can pretty easily make a test ticket and close it, and then see if I can delete it as an admin. I'm pretty sure there's a search where I could search for tickets with an attachment, which might make it a little easier. So if we end up needing to redact attachments older than X period of time, we could.
Oh yeah, it has closed tickets. This is brand new. This is from last month.
Yeah, this definitely didn't, like, this attachment stuff didn't exist other than, yeah, oh yeah, this all came from their malware scanning stuff they put in place. So that's why. I don't even know what show attachment details shows. I doubt it's showing the actual file. But yeah, I'll look into it and see if it works on closed tickets and all that fun stuff. That's very new, so I have not played with it.
Cool.
Cool. Just as a heads up, I'll be out Friday and Monday. Monday's Labor Day, so I decided, 4-day weekend. I might go to the store and get a brisket and smoke a brisket. I say might because it's also supposed to be like 102 this whole weekend, and I learned from last time smoking a brisket in that hot of weather is miserable. Tasty, like super tasty. Enjoyed every bit of that brisket, but man, was it miserable cooking it.
You have to do the opposite of what I used to do in Japan. In Japan, I would like barbecuing in the winter, but it was like freezing. And so I set my barbecue up next to my sliding glass door, and I just sat there, and then I stuck my arm out and would turn the meat and then put my arm back in. It was very
problem
effective.
with smoking is, like, you have to constantly keep adjusting it to keep the temperature in the right range. And sometimes so you're standing in front of a smoke box generating 200 plus degrees of heat, and it's like, oh, I'm dying. Although on the plus side, when you go back inside from doing that, man, does that AC feel amazing. Cool. The priority prospect stuff, we've had it in play for about 3 months now. It seems pretty solid. The process I've been using works. So I am going to actually be committing it to an official ops workflow, and then I'm going to train Nabil on how I'm doing it and have him be co-responsible with me. And then I'm going to have him start helping me train the rest of the team to how to do this, and we'll figure out how that works. There are very specific steps that we need to follow and do so that we can report on them, which is like the big key of that is we want to be able to report on it. I've got fancy spreadsheets that take the data we put in them and generates nice little report areas that we can then use to determine churn rate and stuff like that. Or I guess it's not churn rate if they're a prospect. Buy rate? Whatever term is used for that. Yeah, we'll actually be getting that committed into a process and all this stuff. And I'll make sure to detail, like, as ops, here's the things you need to look into. Right now, the ops workflow is very basic because it's just talking about how to actually do it, not necessarily here's what you need to check, here's how you expire them, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'll commit that fun stuff to actual workflow, and then probably make a training module and level up, since that's our new learning tool. I say probably because I have to think about if that specific thing can be in there. It should be, as long as I don't show any customer data. Cool. I'm working on, as I said, like last week, I'm working on the responsibility table revamp. It's taking me a bit just because other responsibilities, and then I also want to ensure when I give y'all new responsibilities and stuff that it's balanced as much as possible. Dan being U.S. federals, doing U.S. federal ops stuff with me, it means I don't want him to literally have an entire instance to run by himself necessarily. I kind of got to look at the workflow, the workload coming from federal, and making sure I'm not issuing Dan 100 items of work a week and everybody else is getting 10. I'm going to try to make that as balanced as possible. So I'm hoping to have that done by Friday, and then once we kind of have that in place, I'll make issues, or I'll do one-on-ones or something with each of y'all to be like, all right, so you're primarily responsible for these things. I'm going to walk you through what you need to go do on your projects, issue templates, and stuff like that. That way it auto assigns you and all that fun stuff. Cool. And Dan, I know you just got back, so you probably haven't seen the task I gave you about editing some code in our sync repos to add better error reporting. I'm sure you're still catching up on a ton of emails and all that fun stuff.
400 emails. No, I haven't, but I'll take a look.
All right, there's no like rush on that, but essentially, Alyssa was working on an MR, and it was erroring, and our error when it can't read YAML is very generic of can't read YAML. That's not helpful to literally anyone. So I quickly, on just that one she was working on, figured out, okay, hey, here's how we can at least kind of tell it the errors around this line. Let me actually, what I should do is link to the issue on the agenda so that you can actually click it and see what I'm talking about. But yeah, essentially, it just tells you where the error is on around the YAML file. That way you can at least know where to look, because otherwise, like on a view or a form MR, that's a massive YAML file for each form. Like finding where your error is super difficult. Yeah, I'll ask again next week just to get feedback on how y'all felt with that. But I thought it was a cool little small coding task I could give y'all. There's not like a whole lot to it, but it's an experience to kind of, play around a little bit with Ruby. What I want to know is while you're doing it, if you're like, I don't understand exactly what this is doing, let me know. I want to kind of do a little session, and I'll walk you through like, okay, this is exactly what this means, and this is what it's going to do, and kind of show you how to test that stuff. So I'll ask again next week and try to get feedback from like each member of the team of what did you think of this? I know it wasn't a huge coding project, but it is an important one. Not all coding projects are massive 1,000-line scripts. Sometimes it's just making error reporting not terrible.
Cool.
Awesome. It's the end of our agenda stuff. So anything anybody wants to ask, questions, thoughts, comments, observations? Cool. Well, then I will give y'all back about 8 minutes of your day. Enjoy your day, evening, night, morning, dusk, dawn, whatever it is where you are. I would say you're Tuesday, but sometimes it's not Tuesday when I talk to people. I don't know anymore.
It's 4 p.m. UTC. I think it's Tuesday for everyone.
Is it?
No, I guess no, because it's thinking Dateline.
It's Wednesday in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah. Never mind. Time is meaningless.
Okay, so if Dylan was in this meeting, it would be Wednesday for Dylan.
But wouldn't it be like 4 a.m. for Dylan?
Like 2 a.m., I think.
Even worse.
But, so when Dylan watches the recording, happy Wednesday, Dylan. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of your week. I'll see you in tickets issues and Slack.
Well.
Bye.